What's not fair in the anime world is empowering army baddies with body combos to die for. If tids were irrelevant, they wouldn't have made it to the opening scene of a war anime. For example, this lush army commander just shows up while carrying dangerous weapons on her chest. Trust me, these weapons are huge enough to resolve any war. Speaking of the devil, this anime revolves around the continent of Patria, where war assets turn their backs on humanity. It all begins with human greed and a clash between the northern and southern regions of Patria to get a newly discovered energy ore, somnium. The North guy said they deserved to rule, but the South guy said no, and that they deserved it more. And this eventually erupted into a civil war between both regions. Of course, there's always a winner and a loser in a fight. Sadly, the northern soldiers are met at a disadvantage as a result of being outnumbered by their enemies. Well, that's what we think until angel-like northern soldiers arrive on the battlefield. Soon, these guys are revealed to be nothing close to angels as they transform into different beastly forms that seem to have escaped the depths of hell. Makes you wonder what type of nasty deeds the North has been cooking to create such vicious monsters that spread terror and kill ruthlessly. After securing victory, it is revealed that these guys I mistook for angels because of their white suits are actually products of a forbidden technology that no one has seen before. Even the actual North soldiers are shocked at what the beast-human appearances look like and how fast they turned the fight around. Furthermore, these top-secret soldiers are collectively called the Incarnates, who were created by Dr. Elaine, and they also happen to be under the command of Sergeant Hank. Being on the brink of war never stops romance from blooming, as it is revealed that Hank and Elaine sort of have a thing going on between them. Also, we get to learn that the commander of the North soldiers doesn't see the Incarnates are all that well. He describes them as weapons that have lost their humanity, and their only purpose is to serve their country on the battlefield. Of course, their ideology is contradictory to what the Incarnates think of themselves. They assume they're making a big difference for the northern front lines in this battle, but what this bunch is unaware of is that they are seen as tools, yet they dare to have big dreams for their future. In a small gathering at the Incarnate camp, some soldiers express their intention of returning to their families, as well as starting a home when the war is over. Speaking about starting a family, Hank makes a sudden appearance and the topic shifts to one that makes him incredibly anxious. Nothing like soldiers teasing their commander about his dead love life. Anyway, the conversation is about his unspoken feelings for Elaine. The boys are eager to know when Hank is ready to make the big statement to her, but then again, their teases leave him speechless. Hank might be the strong and daring commander on the battlefield, but for one mention of Elaine's name weakens him down to his third leg. Just then, the deputy commander of the Incarnates, Kane, arrives with Elaine, and we get to see Hank use all his might to stop a drunk soldier from blabbering about his feelings for Elaine. Turns out his confidence ends on the front line and doesn't follow him back to the camp. As time went by, the North performed magnificently in battle, thanks to the assistance of the Incarnates, as well as Hank's leadership and Elaine's treatments. Barrack after barrack, region after region, these soldiers conquer every foe until one day, something dreadful and unexpected happens at the battlefront. One of the Incarnates, revealed to be Abby, loses control in his beastly form, and by that, this beastly monster murders every soldier in his path, friend or foe. Everyone gets a taste of venom as Abby kills his victims in the twinkle of an eye. Nobody could predict this unfortunate scenario or understand Abby's reasoning for attacking, and while his fellow Incarnates try to get the snake guy to snap out of it, the northern soldiers prepare cannons to immediately strike him down. Abby manages to return to his half-human form after being hit several times, and while the Incarnate soldier tries to explain that he somehow lost control, Hank calls for the medics to check on him. Sadly, no one is willing to help as the soldiers are all frightened that the day they are dreaded just became a reality, the day the overly powered beings would turn against them. Unable to control himself, Abby resorts to taking his life in a messy way, and right there on the spot marks the end of one Incarnate with dreams of returning home. As scary as Abby's death is for the northern soldiers, it's even more traumatizing for the Incarnates who fear that they might end up like him, Dr. Elaine, who happens to be the one responsible for creating the incarnates, cannot help but blame herself for Abby's demise, but she also wonders what went wrong. In a flashback to one of his medical sessions with her, it is revealed that Abby had some signs of losing his humanity, which he never really pursued because he thought he was imagining things that weren't real. To make matters worse, Hank and Elaine are uncertain of the incarnate's lifespan or what the future holds for them, as Abby's situation has never happened before. Following this, Hank creates a rule that any incarnate who goes berserk will be slain by their own as a duty to their country. And trust me, the speech is even better than this short clip. Somehow, Hank makes this idea of dying so sweet that it sort of feels like Erwin got reincarnated. As the seasons go by, more incarnates lose control and they end up walking the plank while being led by their comrades. Of course, with the massive turnout of deaths, the incarnates camp has lost its joy until one evening when Hank reveals his intentions to finally confess his feelings to Elaine after the war. The guys are super pumped at his words because not only does the back-breaking war end the next day, but their captain also stands a chance of getting laid afterwards. In a moment of alone time between the captains, Kane indulges Hank in a conversation, thanking him for leading the group so far and also recalling how far they've come. Their talk reveals a friendship triangle between Hank and Elaine, who were once war orphans that later became best friends with a boy from an influential family, Kane. Just before they wrap it up, Kane tells Hank to take good care of Elaine, and as the incarnate situation had dealt a huge blow to her conscience. Hank might have misinterpreted the whole advice because the next time we see him, he's alone with Elaine in a discreet location far from the camp. What's funny is that they're not doing lovey-dovey stuff, rather Elaine is more concerned about the final war, which might not happen tomorrow because apparently the northern and southern regions have secretly reconciled. Practically, this is just a ceasefire to Elaine's activities that'll even speed up their romance story. I mean, the war is over, right? There's a beautiful sky, a man and a woman who share and care about each other. But the next thing that happens is unexpected as Elaine turns to shoot Hank with a gun that's hidden in her possession. Her excuse for this, her reason for doing this, is that all incarnates will eventually lose their humanity and go nuts. So according to girl math, shooting him is justified. Turns out her intention was not to kill him, but to render him paralyzed so he doesn't stop her plan. She explains all of this while giving him a sweet hug. Now imagine the level of manipulation and gaslighting. An even bigger plot twist to the story is that Hank's deputy captain and childhood friend Kane was also in on this. Elaine's plan to peacefully kill herself, Kane, and the incarnates with the special bullet go smoothly until Kane does the unexpected by shooting Elaine on her precious opie. It's a sad day for tits lovers, but the next time Hank opens his eyes, he's got even bigger tits waiting for him to recover, Lieutenant Liza. 2 months after the war is over, the incarnates who were disbanded have lost their sanity and have been attacking. To make matters worse, Elaine's body was never found, and Kane is somewhere hiding his dirty, betraying bum ass. For the best parts of it, some incarnates return home to their families, and one of them is Sir William, who lives with orphan children at an orphanage, and his daughter, Skal, who loves to serve them tasteless tea. She gaslights the children into believing that tea time is not about the taste, but the warmth that they feel in their hearts from its heat. As if that's not enough, she tells the children that mushroom soup tastes better than protein-filled deer soup when she's unable to shoot down one for dinner. I think that's enough gaslighting for today. Although, as the story continues, we discover that the town's food supply was drastically hit as a result of the war that just ended. Well, at least they're not eating insects like back in... let's not even go there. Soon they got a visit from a small number of northern soldiers who come with a special request for Sir William to assist in another war. He breaks this impromptu news to Skal that evening, and her response is a fuming one. Also, considering the fact that he just returned home and is not an actual soldier. One thing the soldiers offer as compensation, but more like a bride, is extra food provision for the orphanage as well as the town. On the other hand, Sir William is not going to war because of the spoils and the gains. The guy genuinely believes he can use his special incarnate powers to end the war and hopefully give the kids a brighter future. What William is unaware of is that the Northern Army doesn't give two flying ducks about this sacrifice. The townspeople give him a heartwarming farewell, but sadly, the next time they see him, William has lost his humanity. Stuck in his beast form and is unable to become human again. Now Skull not only becomes the mother to little twats, apparently she also is nursing a gigantic dragon that happens to be her father. And the following day, Skull's emotional state gets the better of her and somehow she believes she can tame a full-grown dragon as a pet in the orphanage. What's even an eyesore is that the kids are in on this level of delulu. Getting government benefits as well as going on dragon back rides is fun until one glorious night when William goes berserk. The townspeople wake up to several cattle missing, along with experiencing difficulties in the sleeping because of William's loud and uncontrollable roars. Suddenly, the era of being understanding about William's situation is over. The elders take matters into their own hands by sending away the orphan children to control food shortage, also leaving poor Skull alone to herself and her now chained pet. One rainy day arrives, and before Skull has time to process the situation, she witnesses William's death in the hands of a strange man wearing a white suit. Skull buries her father alright, but one thing she cannot understand is why he had to die. She swears vengeance for William and she sets out from her home in search of a man wearing a white suit. I find this cute. Back when she couldn't kill a deer in the forest, now she suddenly thinks she's got the guts to kill a human. Cute. The search seems eternal as she walks farther than the K-pop band named Stray Kids. Luckily for her, she stumbles into him at a wine bar and sets her rifle, aiming at her target. Coupled with brainlessness and a sizzling urge to kill, the first shot sends Skull flying, but not without landing a hit on her target revealed to be none other than Hank. He dashes out with Skull's petite figure hanging onto him and ends up in a lonely corner for a quickie. Definition: a quick introduction between two parties. Get your mind out of the gutter. Skull pretty much establishes that she's William's daughter, but that's not all. Turns out Hank is in this town because there's another incarnate on the loose, also revealed to be Danny. In the recent events, Danny brings home spoils to support his mom and the villagers alright. Everything looks so rosy, but what they don't know is that Danny's situation has progressively gotten worse. Hank also reveals that Danny is responsible for robbing several wagons and killing merchants to attain loot. This is such a huge accusation that Skull blindly jumps in to stop Hank from making another kill like he did with her father. Lo and behold, it turns out that Danny is another beast who has long lost his humanity and is simply hiding it under the guise of generosity. We get to see that Hank's incarnate powers activate by his hair turning white. Not only that, he ends the fight quickly with a special type of bullet that Elaine described as one that'll give the incarnates a painless death. Again, the delusional girl aims her rifle at Hank, still unable to process Hank's actions when the war was clearly ended. He responds that the war is anything but over. The incarnates never finished anything, yet this is all the information he can give to the confused Skull. On the other hand, Skull makes it her mission to be Hank's double. Maybe she can finally witness why her father died at his ruthless hands. Now this decision was made impulsively. It's probably an excuse to escape the life she lived in her hometown with William. Could this be an opportunity to travel with the Beast Hunter, or is this an opportunity to be with the Beast Hunter? Baby girl, if you want some hot action, just say so. It's a safe space over here. So during one of their journeys, they are helped by a merchant from a harsh weather condition. One thing about merchants is that they always have tea and the latest gossip. The man reveals that their destination is a town where the war never ends. Apparently, it's being haunted by a beast. Skull is shocked by his words until she gets to witness it for herself. The town gives her all shades of spooky with the view of a magnificent and deadly fortress at the peak of the town. Another magnificent view we get to see is some luscious opie from the beautiful lieutenant. I wish to be him so bad. Excuse me, ma'am, but I would love to support you from the front lines as well. Later on, Lisa gives them info on who they're dealing with. Turns out the fortress is built by a minotaur beast. He's a master at building fortresses and also has superhuman strength. This wretched town happens to be the Minotaur's home, but instead of building a family like the incarnates all agreed, the psychopath went into fortress building and hasn't stopped growing it since then. This process included the damaging of residential homes as well as the shortage of building supplies. To make it short and simple, the guy is just a big bully. Even with Liz's intel, Skull believes that they could reason with the Minotaur to stop his dreadful actions in the town, but then again, after witnessing the Minotaur's ferocious words and actions in person, she simply goes silent. Lisa also shows Skull a first-hand view of how badly the townspeople have suffered under Minotaur's rule. Later that night, Skull witnesses the almighty beast hunter have one of those nightmares about Elaine. Afterward, they go hand in hand to confront the Minotaur, while I just sit here and wonder why Hank let the liability join him in this fight. Diving deeper into the Minotaur's fortress reveals to Skull the amount of horrors this monster is capable of. Her idea of dialogue would have never been enough to mop the ocean. It also turns out that Hank never had an intention to take Skull into battle, so he locks the gates after him so Lisa can take her home. You would never guess what this blonde woman does next. She opens the gate for Skull against Hank's instructions. Why do the dumb ones always have to be the blondes? And heavy-chested. Back at the arena, Hank faces Minotaur, his former comrade who used to be a scaredy cat before he lost his humanity. Turns out Minotaur was merely using Hank's advice to always be ready for war, which is why he keeps on building the fortress for a war that ended months ago. Furthermore, Skull gets to see what she's been earning for, who this man called Hank the Beast Hunter is, and why his mission is to kill incarnates when he's also part of them. During the fight, Hank reveals his true werewolf form, which can be unveiled under the moonlight. The Minotaur versus werewolf ends quicker than imagined, when Hank giving the last shot for a peaceful death. This experience makes Skull wonder what Hank and her father discussed shortly before they died. On the duo's next journey, Skull gets the opportunity to catch a train instead of hiking for long hours. Anyone could tell it was her first time seeing her excitement, especially since all she'd heard about it was from William. She not only goes on a nice tour for the train's conductor, but she also gets to see beautiful people from all over the continent, while Hank simply sits alone like the killjoy he is. Just then, the train's movement is stopped by Lisa and her generals because there's an important mission that Hank must carry out. The only reason his lieutenant would abruptly find Hank is if there's an incarnate on the loose. And by the prediction, the Northern Army has their eyes set on the behemoth, which has unfortunately refused to die. Now, the problem isn't the behemoth's movement, but it turns out that if it continues on its path, it'll end up crashing into the iron bridge and train tracks, and that's connected the northern and southern regions in Batria. The real problem lies with behemoth's insane ability to heal, and it's up to Hank to stop it. Coupled with the monster's impenetrable skin, Hank comes up with a plan to make the behemoth lose its balance by launching a sneak attack at its limbs. For the better half of it, its movements cease and it's apprehended by northern soldiers who wrap it up in a cute bun. Lisa's report further reveals that Behemoth might have some sense of reasoning after all. Its movements have been going towards the east while also avoiding populated cities and casualties. After this revelation, the most righteous Skull feels it's a good idea to try and spark a conversation with the monster. It's not exactly a waste because it gives a hint of its goal. But while this idea of dialogue is ongoing, builders and owners of the Iron Bridge make an appeal for the beast to be killed as soon as possible, even against protocol. This complaint gives every soldier a burning resolve to end the threat before them. However, Skull believes that the behemoth has a goal to fulfill in the east and should be helped. To make matters worse, the builders send bandits to secretly blow up the monster once and for all. Of course, this only sends the behemoth on a rampage, heading straight for the Iron Bridge. Hank and the soldiers declare a full-blown battle against it this time, but one thing no one planned is Skull's appearance at the top of the Iron Bridge. Again, the woman chooses dialogue, turning a blind eye that this could be her end if the behemoth chooses to swallow her. Just then, one grenade tears down the hill to reveal a beautiful view on the sunset and ocean. Now, this is one thing that captivates the beast as tears drop down its monstrous feature before breathing its last. Turns out that the hill going down was part of Hank's plan. From Hank's memories, the incarnate behind the behemoth was a silent man who dreamed of seeing the ocean after the war ended. This explains why the beast consistently headed east. But on the other hand, Hank is thankful to Skull for giving him the hint and is pleased that he got to fulfill a soldier's dream as his captain. I nearly shed a tear here at a heartwarming wrap-up. So folks, this brings us to the end of this recap. Stay tuned and subscribe for more exciting videos like this. Don't miss out.